Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Paramahansa Pradikacharya Astoto the Shishimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pradikacharya Astoto the Shishimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Can we shut that door to, where that kicks in there? No, not completely. You can leave a little bit open. You know what? Where it locks. Keep pushing a little bit. There you go. You know how to turn that on. Thank you, Prabhu. Okay. Now this is really low. Can I just get a little more? Tiny bit? I know we want to accommodate Vijay, but... Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this third day of August, 2020 in SanDiego, Lord Balaram's Glorious Appearance Day, we are reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 18. Uh-oh. Let me do that announcement again, I forgot. On this third day of August 2020 in SanDiego, on Lord Balaram's Appearance Day, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 18, entitled Conclusion, the Perfection of Enunciation. Text 29 on page 679. Buddhir bedam dviteschaiva gunatas trivadam shrinu prochamanamasheshena pratakve nadananjaya. Buddhir bedam dviteschaiva gunatas trivadam shrinu prochamanamasheshena pratakve nadananjaya. Buddhe bhedam jateshchaiva gunatas trivadhang shinu prochamanamasheshena Pratakvena Dhananjaya. You're on, Prabhu. Buddhe Bhedam Jateshchaiva Gunatas Trivadhang Shunu Prochamanamasheshena Pratakvena Dhananjaya. Buddhe Bhedam Jateshchaiva Gunatas Trivadhang Shinu Prochamanamasheshena Pratakvena Dhananjaya. Buddhir Bhedam Jateshchaiva Gunatas Trivadhang Shinu Prochamanamasheshena Pratakvena Dhananjaya. Buddhir Bhedam Jateshchaiva Dhamshinu Prochamanamasheshena Pratakvena Dhananjaya. Buddhe of intelligence, Bhedham the differences, Dritehe of steadiness, Cha also, Eva certainly, Gunataha by the modes of material nature, Trivadham of three kinds, Shrinu just here, Prochamanam as described by me, Asheshena in detail, Pratakvena differently, Dhananjaya, O winner of wealth. Translation. O winner of wealth, now please listen as I tell you in detail of the different kinds of understanding and determination according to the three modes of material nature. Purport. Now, after explaining knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower in three different divisions according to the modes of material nature, the Lord is explaining the intelligence and determination of the worker in the same way. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unminatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So one thing that is important to remember as we read the Bhagavad Gita, the whole context of the Bhagavad Gita is that Krishna is trying to get Arjuna to transform his desires, his will, his activity in 180 degrees, from not fighting at all and being, determined not to fight, to being completely ready to fight for Krishna and to change it. And so, in that context, everything in the Bhagavad Gita is meant to give us information, to give us inspiration, to transform ourselves. The whole thing is it's not just a dry philosophical treatise, as so many others you can find anywhere, but it's a dynamic effort on the part of the Lord Himself to enter into our hearts and our minds, so that will change the course of our life from one of these modes of nature, that we're in now, we can recognize, to transcendence. And so all of these different categories Krishna is describing, different things. In the 17th chapter also we had food, we had tapasya, and in this 18th chapter we have the karta, the doer, as well, and all these different elements in three different modes of nature. So we're meant to see through the eyes of the Shastra, with this understanding, and recognize in those around us and on ourselves, is our intelligence in the mode of passion and ignorance, and how can we transform it? How can we move up to goodness? Because it's clearly mentioned that these lower modes, the passion and ignorance, leads to bondage and suffering. There's no question about it. But the mode of goodness is kind of the gateway by which you can practice with determination spiritual disciplines, yoga, in order to transcend the modes entirely. And that will, we've already heard that actually in the 14th chapter. Remember the 14th chapter where Krishna gives a more detailed explanation of the modes of nature. Then at the end, Arjuna asks, well, how can one transcend the modes? What are the symptoms of one who has transcended the modes? What are the activities, the qualities, the activities, and the method of getting there? And Krishna answers very clearly there, Mam Chayova Bicharana Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sogunan Samititan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. By unflinching devotional service unto me, unfailing in any circumstance, Bhakti Yogena Sogunan Samititatan, one completely transcends the modes of nature and comes to the platform of Brahma Bhuta, Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. And we're going to hear about that Brahma Bhuta platform probably next week when text 54. So now we're going to hear very important intelligence, a division of intelligence according to the modes, and determination. Those go together. Where your intelligence is, where your ideas are, that's going to determine what your activities are. Very important. Okay, text 30, and this is a comment. Pravittim chanavrittim cha kaya karye bhayabhaye bandham moksham chayaveti buddhi sa partha satviki ki. Sorry. O son of Pritha, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is liberating, is in the mode of goodness. Purport. Performing actions in terms of the directions of the scriptures is called pravitti, or executing actions that deserve to be performed. And actions which are not so directed are not to be performed. One who does not know the scriptural directions becomes entangled in the actions and reactions of work. Understanding which discriminates by intelligence is situated in the mode of goodness. Now, does this verse ring a bell with anyone? I don't know if you're familiar with the Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 16, you remember? Yeah, divine nature. This is one of the first qualities of the maniac. Pravittim chandavitim cha janano vidurasura. The asuras, the demons, don't know what is to be done and what's not to be done because they don't have any faith in the Shastra. In the purport, Prabhupada says they don't act according to it. Even if they know, they don't care to act according to it. They may know, may not know, but it doesn't. Generally, they don't know, and so that casts you adrift in this material world. If you don't know the means, it's just like Prabhupada would sometimes give the example of, some complicated machine. It comes with an instruction manual, how to use it. We probably all had some experience. You get a computer. Okay, well, how do you turn it on? Where do you plug it in? How do I use the thing? And if you don't have that, then it just doesn't help you. The whole thing doesn't help. So similarly, this material world comes with an instruction manual. The Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, the revealed scripture. How you can live in this world successfully. To live in this world successfully means to eventually get out of it. To make this your last birth. That's success. Right? In other words, it's a prison house. So the only success in the prison house is to get out. Not to move from become an A prison, become from a B prisoner, or get more exercise privileges or whatever, That's silly. So these scriptures are telling us what to do and what not to do. And if we follow them, if we have faith and follow them, then we benefit and we make ourselves eligible for making our life successful. So it's a very key element here. Again, Prabhupada comes back to the theme of referring to the scripture in terms of direction to the scriptures. We go all the way back to the end of chapter 16, the beginning of 17. Right? Tasmat pramanam te. Tasmat tvam pramanam te karya vastito. Gyatva shastra badanaktam karma kartam harasi. I left the word out there somewhere. But the same idea, same words are used. Karya. what to do and what not to do, what to accept as duty and what not to accept as duty. So it's very key that we have access to the Shastra, genuine Shastra, as Prabhupada's given us, as it is, and that we consult it, we hear regularly, that to guide us. Because we're always, our conditioning is always what is to take us off the road, and get into things that's not Shastric, and that keeps us bound to this world. So this mode of goodness, understanding, intelligence, is key. That's what he's describing here. Buddhi saparta sattviki. Now let's read about the mode of passion. Yaya dharmam adharmam cha karyam chakaryameva cha ayatavat prajanati buddhi saparta rajasi. O son of Pita, that understanding which cannot distinguish between religion and irreligion, between action that should be done and action that should not be done, is in the mode of passion. No purport, text 32. Adharmam dharmamitiya manyate tamasavata sarvarthan viparitangscha buddhi sa partatamasi. That understanding which considers irreligion to be religion, and religion to be irreligion, under the spell of illusion and darkness, and strives always in the wrong direction, O Partha, is in the mode of ignorance. Purport. Intelligence in the mode of ignorance is always working in the opposite of the way it should. It accepts religions which are not actually religions, and rejects actual religion. Men in ignorance understand a great soul to be a common man and accept a common man as a great soul. They think truth to be untruth and accept untruth as truth. In all activities, they simply take the wrong path. Therefore, their intelligence is in the mode of ignorance. Okay, so two important comments on this. First, this is one of the most prominent corrections that were made, revisions that were made on the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Because this issue will not die in my lifetime, and probably not in yours, that the 1972 Bhagavad Gita, as it is, Macmillan edition, went through extensive revisions in 1983 by Jayaveda Swami and Gopi Puranadana Prabhu. There was a big Sanskrit component to that revision. And one of the prominent changes, obvious changes, is in these two verses. And what happened is that for some reason, back in the 68, 69, 70, when the book was being edited, it could have been in the I don't know, it wasn't in the transcript. Somehow or other, these two purports got switched, 31 and 32. Notice there's nothing for 31. The purport that's now at 32, describing intelligence in the mode of ignorance, was appended to text 31. And so all of the where ignorance was changed to passion. In other words, he went through this purport and made it into passion. But that's not what Prabhupada said. This is all about ignorance. And so that's a major problem. That's a major mistake, that obviously needed to be fixed. And so, most devotees, in all languages, they've been reading this now for 37 years. It's not an issue, but it remains an issue on the internet. It never dies, And this is one of the effects of intelligence in the mode of ignorance, is that you believe things that aren't true to be true, and then it's not like, okay, it doesn't pan out. No. Then you start a website, you make a thing, so many people read that, innocent people, they get into that, and it's ignorance metastasizes. And we see it now, it's happening now. If people can't trust sources of knowledge, in America they had this idea that, with the free press, then the truth will out, the government can't suppress it, Tom Paine, I don't know if that means anything to you. You remember it? Yeah, you learned that early history. He was a writer back in the pre-Revolutionary War days who wrote some pamphlets and distributed them, and they became, they revealed the domination of the colonies and helped to fire up people to fight the Revolutionary War. Okay, so that was the ideal. Freedom of the press. You can't, suppress the truth. But okay, it's freedom of the press. That means that all the people who are lying can also write, nice pamphlets or very attractive websites, or buy whole news stations, for $1 billion and have a big network of news that are propagating lies. And innocent people believe it. And they have a whole mindset where they see the world through this, conspiracy theories. And you've got, millions and millions of people who are affected by intelligence in the mode of ignorance. So that's why, the most important thing that Prabhupada left was his books, because they're a source of knowledge, that one can rely on about what to do and what not to do to achieve real success in life. Not this temporary material thing, there's millions of information, but this is real. So he's leaving that. And the fact that the books needed to be revised, because in the production process, I'm not going to go into a whole treatise now, I can put a slideshow someday. There were just so many problems and defects in terms of personnel and in terms of just, time, not enough time to really go through and do what needed to be done. So if you come across this issue, I know probably I'm preaching to the choir here. There's a few people out there who know it. That don't get sucked in to it's an emergency. They changed Prabhupada's books. Yeah. And if you look at the individual changes, they needed to be made to bring it back to what Krishna said and what Prabhupada said. Okay, we'll leave that at that. So here we have the problem with the mode of intelligence and the mode of ignorance. It's backwards. It's 180 degrees wrong, beginning with you are the body, and that's the main concern, and from there it all expands into what we see today. So going on. So that was intelligence. Now determination, which is based on your intelligence. Dhrityaya dhariyate manak pranendriya kriya yogena vyabhicharinya dhriti saparta satviki. O son of Prita, that determination which is unbreakable, which is sustained with steadfastness by yoga practice, and which thus controls the activities of the mind, life, and senses, is determination in the mode of goodness. Purport. Yoga is a means to understand the Supreme Soul. One who is steadily fixed in the Supreme Soul with determination, concentrating one's mind, life, and sensory activities on the Supreme, engages in Krishna consciousness. That sort of determination is in the mode of goodness. The word avyabhicharinya is very significant, for it indicates that persons who are engaged in Krishna consciousness are never deviated by any other activity. So this avyabhicharina, notice that was the word, I don't know if you picked it up, mam chayo vyabhicharena. I quoted that near the end of the 14th chapter. How to transcend the modes. Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate. One who engages in bhakti yoga, which is not avyabhichari. The same idea here, means without any break. So bhakti without any break, that really situates you firmly above the modes of nature. The breaks come when you yield to activities in the mode of nature. So this is determination. You can see how important this is. Determination which is unbreakable. Well, there's challenges. In the course of your practice of bhakti yoga, our conditioning is so strong that there'll be temptations to do something you shouldn't do or not do something you should do, So that's the point at which your determination has a test. You get stronger when you go through those moments and you do the right thing, you don't do the wrong thing, And that's the great value of an ashram. Association is so important, giving us encouragement. Just the peer pressure, the difference between, of course I have my little apartment here, but basically I'm part of the temple. But waking up at your home, you need to drive 20 minutes to get to the temple. Well, you can do it, But to do it every day, day after day, day after day, at a certain point, okay, I got to bed late and there's no way I can go to Mangalartik tomorrow, It becomes very difficult to become a vyabhichari, become undeviating, have it. To the point where it's the second nature. There's no question of not doing it, Whereas in an ashram, that's what's going on. That's why I joined the ashram, right? To have the support, because it's difficult to do it at home. So that's Prabhupada worked so hard to make these temples for that very reason, because he knew that that's really where you can get strong. And then those who are strong in that determination, they can then pass that on to others. By example, they can see the value of, becoming serious in devotional service. Otherwise, Krishna consciousness, as it did historically, amazingly, after Lord Chaitanya, after all you read in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the whole movement was eclipsed for, I don't know how long, hundreds of years. Because the shock of Lord Chaitanya's leaving, and just, the devotees were scattered, and the rise of pseudo sects of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. You read about it, they're called Upasampradayas. It's easy to get enthralled with all of the literature and the things about Radha and Krishna. And who wants to read Bhagavad Gita? Let's read Krishna Karnamrita. We'll give a Krishna Karnamrita class. That's really where we're at. Attracted. But you need this foundation. Otherwise, it becomes, it's called the sahajiya. You know what sahajiya means? It means easy, taking everything easy. We don't have to go through all of this, just chant and kirtan, Radha Krishna, and go off to Vrindavan, stay, do this, do that, But without the structure, the modes of nature infiltrate into your mind and into your intelligence and your activities. And without a authority, then people who are charismatic but aren't so strict can easily turn your mind of innocent people who come in touch with it, and you get these upasampradayas. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there's like 12 different ones, there's a lot of them in Bengal. And because of them, Gaudiya Vaishnavism was seen as a corrupt branch of Vaishnavism for a long time, until Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he revived the whole thing, and we're students of his students, disciples of his disciples. Okay, so this is goodness. Now let's see passion. There's a lot of that, determination and passion. Yayatu dharma kamartan dritya dhariyate arjuna pasangena palakankshi dhruti sa partarajasi. But that determination by which one holds fast to fruitive results in religion, economic development, and sense gratification is of the nature of passion, O Arjuna. Purport: any person who is always desirous of fruitive results in religious or economic activities, whose only desire is sense gratification, and whose mind, life, and senses are thus engaged, is in the mode of passion. That's what we got. That's capitalism, right there. The goal is always some accumulation of wealth, sense gratification. A sense gratification can be very subtle. It can be in all kinds of artistic things, whatever it may be, and it's in the different modes. But if that's the goal, then your determination is in the mode of passion, and that determination seems to be what success is all about. But what you really end up with is this world of competing forces, whether it's individuals or tribes or nations, competing for scarce natural resources. Everybody can't live the American style, even what used to be called middle class life. The earth can't support it. It's artificial. But that's the ideal. So unless you find, and this is critical for us, unless you find another source of pleasure and success, which you do find in Krishna consciousness, you find that being Krishna conscious, chanting, hearing, serving, seeing the deity, that provides a higher and finer sense of satisfaction, which really, matures into real pleasure. And it completely eclipses this, sense gratification as a goal of life, which is essential. That's what vairagya is all about. Without the vairagya, then it's just, flickering, sentimental. The vairagya solidifies your commitment to devotional service, and it comes naturally. That's what's so wonderful. Right at the beginning of Bhagavatam, 2nd chapter, 1st canto, It says, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayat Yashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayadahaitakam. That by practicing devotion to Vasudeva, Krishna, Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga in a Sevate. No, I'm sorry. One quickly develops detachment and knowledge. Vairagya and knowledge comes. So that detachment from material things is accompanied by attachment to Krishna. And that attachment to Krishna is what we're looking for. The more and more and more that we can become attached and take pleasure in giving Krishna pleasure and his devotees pleasure, that's where there's unlimited pleasure is there. And it totally negates the sense gratification. But this, you can't. You just become more and more attached. That didn't, which one holds fast to fruited results in religion, economic development, sense gratification. Even the so-called religion is engaged in, give us our daily bread, let me succeed in business, It's a material motive there. Even let me go to heaven, that's also material. So that's cheating religion, kicked out at the beginning of Bhagavatam, and it keeps us in the mode of passion. So now the mode of ignorance. Yaya swapnam bhayam shokam vishadam madamevacha navamunchati dhurmedha duti sa partatamasi. And that determination, which cannot go beyond dreaming, fearfulness, lamentation, moroseness, and illusion, such unintelligent determination, O son of Pita, is in the mode of darkness. Purport. It should not be concluded that a person in the mode of goodness does not dream. Here, dream means too much sleep. Dreaming is always present, either in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. Dreaming is a natural occurrence. But those who cannot avoid oversleeping, who cannot avoid the pride of enjoying material objects, who are always dreaming of lording it over the material world, and whose life, mind, and senses are thus engaged, are considered to have determination in the mode of ignorance. And I can't help but recognize in this mode, because it's always present, the temptation and the engaging in intoxication. I mean, when you take a drug, or especially hallucinogen or something like that, there's all kinds of images and the things that you see that aren't there. But that's one of the reasons you do it, to escape ordinary humdrum reality, which is terrible, and to try to enter into some other mode. And it can also be like all this entertainment and the movies and everything like that. That's also a kind of dreaming, and guided dreaming, to take you away from your humdrum reality. And then your ordinary life becomes boring, so you just get addicted to those types of things. And that's a mode of ignorance as well. And certainly just keeps you bound up in this material world. It's antithetical to Krishna consciousness. Okay, now we're into happiness, different kinds of happiness. Sukham tvidanim trivadham shunume bhadatarshaba abhyasad brahmati yatra tu kantam chanagachati. O best of the Bharts, now please hear from me about the three kinds of happiness by which the conditioned soul enjoys and by which he sometimes comes to the end of all distress. Purport. A conditioned soul tries to enjoy material happiness again and again. Thus he chews the chewed. What's the Sanskrit? You remember that phrase? Punash? Punak punash charvita charvananam. Again and again chewing the chewed. Prahlad Maharaj, his father. Thus he chews the chewed. But sometimes in the course of such enjoyment he becomes relieved from material entanglement by association with a great soul. In other words, a conditioned soul is always engaged in some type of sense gratification, but when he understands by good association that it is only a repetition of the same thing, and he is awakened to his real Krishna consciousness, he is sometimes relieved from such repetitive so-called happiness. Okay, so first in the mode of goodness. Yatadagre vishamiva padiname mitopamam tatsukam satvikam proktam atma buddhi prasadajam That which in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization, is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness. Purport. In the pursuit of self-realization, one has to follow many rules and regulations to control the mind and the senses, and to concentrate the mind on the self. All these procedures are very difficult, bitter like poison. But if one is successful in following the regulations and comes to the transcendental position, he begins to drink real nectar, and he enjoys life. So this is, reminds us of that ladder from faith to love. Rupa Goswami, in his Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu, near the beginning, he has this wonderful 2 verses that describe the progress of a devotee in devotional service. From Shraddha to Prema. Adhav Shraddha tatak sadhu sangha tabhajana priya. Adhav Shraddha tatak sadhu sangha tabhajana. Tato anartha devitisa, tato nishta ruchistata, ata sakta tata bhava tata prema abhujantati, sarakana mayam premna praro bhave krama. I got to review these verses. Little words drop out, if you notice sometimes, Can't believe I missed a word in that one. But okay. So it begins with faith. Begins with faith. Somehow or other, you have to get some faith. Now this is preliminary faith, probably described as a respect or interest, which brings you into the association of devotees. Now that today's world, it can be through media. Certainly. A book, you bought a book, 5 months ago, and you looked at the cover a little bit, and okay, maybe put it on the shelf, and you get busy in your life, and schoolwork and job, where to go from whatever. In other words, but something happens. Something happens in your life, or somehow just Krishna from within inspires you. Let me check out that book. That devotee, that person was kind of interesting, And you open the book, and you begin to read. Now, you've got an association with Prabhupada as soon as you read that book. That's the big thing. And that association itself, that the words themselves can give you more faith. In other words, that preliminary interest has to be there. And it's nourished by association with devotees, by Vani, the 2 main, Vapu and Vani, famously. Of course, very rare to have direct association of Prabhupada's, form. That's Vapu. But his words are everywhere. You just have to open the book. So that association then hopefully brings you into more association, personal association. If you're fortunate to be within hailing distance of an actual temple, nowadays you just have to hit the right keys. Your whole destiny is which keys you hit, right? Which site you visit. There's about probably 20 million porn sites on the internet that you can visit. But if you hit Harekrishna, Google Harekrishna, your life is saved, Anyway, so that's, association. And there's so much. There's kirtan, there's classes, there's everything. And hopefully, at one point you make a pilgrimage, you go to the center. So in that association, however you get it, bhajana, you become inspired to actually engage in bhajan, which really means chanting. That's the basic bhajan. And inspired to chant kirtan, inspired to chant japa, and try to learn more about devotional service and incorporate it in your life. So that's the bhajana kriya. Bhajana kriya. Now that bhajana kriya needs at one point to mature into the desire to be initiated, because that forms a real link. It means you're serious in following this path. And so that relationship with this parampara, with your guru, that really steadies you and gives you a lot of determination. And so then you go on, and then you're in a stage of what is called anartha nivritti. You know what anartha nivritti is? Yeah, they're unwanted things in the heart, Sometimes called abhadras or anarthas. So anarthas take many forms: lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, desire for this, and so many things. So that by the process of bhajan, with the serious bhajan, especially under the guidance of a spiritual master and in association of devotees, that anartha process can go very quickly, depending how serious you are. And then you come to the point of nishta. Now these aren't mutually exclusive, meaning that nishta, which is firm faith, is something that grows. It's kind of a spectrum. Your faith is getting firmer and firmer and stronger, because you're getting direct realization. It's one thing to have faith that if I practice Krishna consciousness, I'll become peaceful and happy, and okay, I have faith, And what gives you that faith? You meet some devotees, That's a big. You meet the devotees, read about their lives, and experience something yourself. The more you experience yourself, the more your faith is deepened, obviously, because now it's pratyaksha, direct perception, and now it's not even a faith anymore; it's a firm conviction. That's what nishta means, firm conviction. That what? Shraddha shabde vishwas ko hai suddha nishchoy Krishna bhakti korle sarva karma krita hoy. That one I have down. Shraddha shabde. The word shabde in Bengali is used to mean, it means, is defined as. You find that in Lord Chaitanya's explanation of the Atmarama verse. This is in the Madhya Lila, Sarvabhauma Madhacharya, and also with Sanatana Goswami. He explains this one verse in many different ways. A very important verse. So there's many ways. Many of the verses in the CC have this. Atma means Atma Shabde means. So Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kohe. Vishwas is a firm conviction. Sudridha, extremely firm. That what? Krishna bhakti korle sarva karma. Just by practicing Krishna consciousness, all my aspirations will be achieved. You see how important that is. Determination in the mode of passion. No way. I got so many aspirations to enjoy those fruits. I want to make a lot of money. I got things to buy. I got places to be. That's your aspiration. Just by investing in this stock, my aspiration will be achieved. In other words, that's not the shabde. That's faith in something else. So with that faith and that nishta, then you're getting more and more ruchi. The very things that you're doing with your bhajan, that there's some taste there, but it's mostly, an austerity. At first, chant 16 rounds, get up early, all this stuff. I'm doing it as a matter of duty, but then it becomes pleasurable. And we can read about it. That verse that Balaram read last night, Syat Krishna Nama Chaditadi Satapya Vidyat Pitopataptarasanasya Narochikanu. This one I'll never forget. You know why? Because every day in Bhagavatam class in New York Temple, this is the big 55th Street Temple, that legendary temple. I lived there for over a year. And the book came out while I was there, and we would chant the first 7 verses after every Bhagavatam class. The whole temple memorized them, So those are like ingrained in my brain. So this one says, Syat Krishna Nama, the holy name of Krishna, his activities and pastimes and qualities, they're sweet like nectar, Syat Krishna Charitari Sita, even though Sita means very sweet and palatable, although it's such that we don't taste it like that. Pittopatapja, we taste it as very bitter. Pittopatasa Racharacha Rochikanu. But isn't it wonderful? Kinba Anudinang, every day, Kalusai Vajishta, that if you practice chanting them anyway, even though it may be bitter or some austerity, that gradually the disease of the ignorance is destroyed at its root. You become more and more purified, and that very same name and qualities and all the things that becomes, a source of great enjoyment. So that's a very, safe space to be on. Just like I saw you had 3 glubjamins packed away. I don't know if you ate them all at once, but you ate them. By now you ate them. You're still going to take them for tomorrow. Okay. For now. Okay, right. All right. But the thing is, okay, you got 3 glubjamins. But suppose you had 33 glubjamins, then you have to space it over a week, right? But now if you, not him, 33 glubjamins like that. Don't have that. We used to have the glubjamin eating contest. Oh my God. So, but the thing is, just imagine if it wasn't an issue, You want to eat 100 glubjamins? No problem. You won't get a bellyache. We're cool. Just keep eating them. Sweet. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I'll get diabetes. Forget it. No, that's a material limitation. There's no material limitation on spiritual. Once you get the taste, once you can hear that name Krishna, Madaram Madarebhyopi, the sweetest of the sweet. So many verses like that. Like Rupa Goswami, this famous verse. It's in the Antya-lila chapter 1. It's quoted twice there. Tunde tandavanirating batanate tundabali labdhaye karna kroda katambani gatayate karnabadevyaxpiham Chetak prangana sangini vidayati sarvendriyanam kritim no jane janita kriyad vidamitai krishneti varnadvahi. You know what that last phrase means? I don't know how much nectar these two syllables Krishna have produced. When I chant them, they seem to dance in my mouth. I want to have millions of mouths to taste these two syllables. When they enter the ear, they seem to sprout. I want to have millions of ears to taste that sweet, nectar of the sound. And when they enter the heart, they take over all the functions of the senses. The mind becomes completely fixed and go into trance. Lord Chaitanya heard this verse. He started dancing in ecstasy. Haridas Thakur also. So what does that mean? That is the actual nature of the name. The name of Krishna is Krishna. We know that theoretically. I mean, I don't think any of us have realized it fully. I certainly haven't. Can you imagine? Just, you chant Krishna, Krishna, you're associated with Krishna, his form, his name, qualities, and pastimes, everything is manifesting. What more do you need? Your life is successful. But that's the actual nature. This is our nature. We know. Anandamaya Vyasat. You probably heard this phrase, 20 times already. That the nature of Krishna is to be always blissful. And we see by his pastimes. Even killing demons, he's having fun doing that. It's not like he might lose or something, It's just like he gets enjoyment in playing that he might lose, but he never really will lose. That's part of the enjoyment. What to speak of dancing with the gopis, playing with his friends, it's all just bliss, So we are part and parcel of Krishna. We also have that nature, but clearly we've lost it, right? We're trying to regain it in sense gratification and experiencing great suffering. As we, I think we said that. Yat tara grace vishamiva, that the happiness that is nectar in the beginning, but poison in the end, is in the mode of passion, right? And then so-called happiness that's miserable at the beginning and the end, mode of ignorance, So, but that mode of passion, we're trying to regain it because that's our enjoying nature. We're an anandamaya vyasat, but we've forgotten Krishna, and so we're trying to do it in this matter and chewing the chewed, and getting bound up and suffering like crazy. Material happiness is like a little, working hard to get some, pleasure, anticipating it, thinking about it, seeing videos about it, and then actually, if you're fortunate, if you got the right karma, experiencing it, and then remembering it. In other words, the actual experience is very brief, And after all of that, suffering like crazy because you're violating God's laws. So is it worth it? So much anticipation, and oftentimes you don't get it. That itself is a tremendous suffering. Better not to have wanted it at all than to want it and not get it. So it's a lose-lose all over the place. It keeps you bound to the material world. A little bit of flickering happiness, a lot of anticipation and memory, and dreaming about it, and then a whole lot of suffering. Hellish punishment, karma, disease, fighting with others to get the same, thing. That's material happiness, so-called happiness. Just like here, what do we got in this world? Suddenly the whole thing is a big, pall has come over. Who can really enjoy? They're trying to open up Disney World. No, really. Can you imagine? I mean, it was already absurd. We knew that, But now it's like, with the Black Death, over your shoulder. Oh my God, is that little kid? Maybe he has COVID. My kid's going to get it. They're trying to start the sports up again. I mean, that's not going to work, is it? I mean, so this is the real nature of this world. You enjoy. You got the dreams. Everything's going along okay, and boom, down comes. You get some disease, or you get evicted. Whatever. But Krishna devotees, just look at the ideal. The ideal devotees are like the 6 Goswamis. How can you tempt them with some material pleasure? They've given it all up. They had it all. They gave it up. But they're enjoying more than anybody. Gopi, Bhagavad, Matabdala, Hari, Kalola, Magno, Mahor. Again and again, diving in the ocean of bliss of the gopis' love for Krishna. Now, that's not impossible that we can do it if we go step by step. I mean, it's already there. We even have the books, I've been reading the CC, It's full of that, It's explained nicely, So, and it doesn't depend on external, how much money you have or anything like that, how old you are, They know on the internet. They figure out. They keep sending me stuff. Testosterone. We can help you. Yeah, we know you're 72 years old. They keep sending this one ad. I just laugh. I just erase it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. This is the great protection. Otherwise, you can be allured easily. By these things. All right, we have a few minutes. We'll finish this category. Okay. Where were we? Is it 36 we're on? No. 37. Yeah. Did we finish 37? Yeah, Atma Buddhi Prasadajam. Okay, in the beginning, this is the mode of goodness, right? Satvikam. Okay, well, let's get through these two. The pamphlets are real small. 38. Vishayendriya Sangyogad Yatadagre Mitopamam Padiname Vishamiva Tatsukam Rajasam Smitam. That happiness which is derived from contact of the senses with their objects and which appears like nectar at first but poison in the end is said to be the nature of passion. Purport: a young man and young woman meet, and the senses drive the young man to see her, to touch her, to have sexual intercourse. In the beginning this may be very pleasing to the senses, but at the end, or after some time, it becomes just like poison. They are separated, there is divorce, there is lamentation, there is sorrow, etc. Such happiness is always in the mode of passion. Happiness derived from a combination of the senses and the sensed objects is always a cause of distress and should be avoided by all means. Remember 5th chapter, way back in the 5th chapter? Yahi sangsparshaja bhoga dukkha yona evade. The happiness derived from the contact of the senses with the sense objects is a source of misery. Very revolutionary statement, exactly here. And so the wise don't take their pleasure there. They take their pleasure in Brahman. Contact with Brahman, the Supreme Brahman is Krishna. Okay, last category for happiness. Yaragre chano bandecha sukam mohanamatmanaha nidralasya pramadotham tattamasam udaritam. And that happiness which is blind to self-realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion, is said to be of the nature of ignorance. Purport: one who takes pleasure in laziness and in sleep is certainly in the mode of darkness, ignorance, and one who has no idea how to act and how not to act is also in the mode of ignorance. For the person in the mode of ignorance, everything is illusion. There is no happiness either in the beginning or at the end. For the person in the mode of passion, there might be some kind of ephemeral happiness in the beginning and at the end distress. But for the person in the mode of ignorance, there is only distress both in the beginning and at the end. And, this is again, this mode of ignorance where drugs come in. And it's so tragic. Some young kid, 13, 12, younger and younger, gets hung up in some drugs. And if they're lucky, they can get free of the drug. But the effects of the heavy drugs. I mean, when I was a kid, I was ignorant of all this stuff. I wasn't such a kid. I was in 21, and I got into smoking every day. Marijuana. Sometimes we had hashish. All right, living on the Lower East Side, 2 blocks from Thompson Square Park. I was in that milieu. All right, I was lucky to come out of it. I got devotional service. But nowadays, as you guys know better than me, the berry marijuana is much stronger. It's much stronger than it ever was, when I was doing it. And that can definitely damage your brain. It can affect you for a lifetime, what to speak of stronger drugs. So, you got in the wrong association, you got into that, and for a lifetime now you have a problem, remembering things. I remember even Bhaktinanda Tirtha Swami, he would say when he was giving classes before he took sannyas, how he couldn't remember a verse. I said, yeah, this is probably from all the marijuana I smoked, like that. So it's such a hazardous thing, a lifetime of paranoia and suicidal ideation comes in and all kinds of stuff, these drugs. So that's the mode of ignorance. That's where the mode of ignorance is there. As long, the more immediate you want sense pleasure to try to, to forget your situation, whatever, then the danger is you get in the wrong association. So it's like an emergency out there. And Krishna consciousness is giving the alternative, the cure, wholesomeness, no drugs. You don't need any drugs. You get addicted to chanting Hare Krishna, and there's no bad effect, all good side effects. All goes to the Prabhupada. Moving